Love is one of the most powerful forces in human relationships, but it is also one of the most misunderstood. Many people view love as an uncontrollable emotion, something that happens to them without their input, a spark, a feeling, or a rush of excitement. While those emotional elements may introduce us to love, they are not enough to sustain it. Real love, the kind that endures through life's storms, is far more profound. It is not merely something we feel, it is something we choose and commit to every single day. Choosing love means making a deliberate decision to value another person, not just when it's convenient or easy, but especially when it is hard. In the early stages of a relationship, love often feels effortless. There is joy in discovering each other, excitement in shared moments, and a natural inclination to focus on the positive. But as time passes, challenges arise. Differences in opinions, lifestyles, and expectations begin to surface, and the blissful feelings of early love can wane. This is the point where many relationships falter because the illusion of love as effortless fades and the work of love begins. Love requires intentionality. It demands a willingness to see another person for who they truly are, flaws and all, and to accept them in their entirety. This acceptance does not mean ignoring their imperfections or pretending they don't exist. Instead, it means acknowledging that every person carries their own struggles, wounds, and weaknesses, and choosing to love them despite those things. This choice is not about tolerating bad behavior, but about demonstrating grace and understanding when mistakes are made. Commitment is the cornerstone of this choice. Without it, love becomes conditional, dependent on circumstances or feelings that can change in an instant. Commitment says, I am here not just for the good days, but for the hard ones too. It is the decision to stay when walking away feels easier, to forgive when holding a grudge seems justified, and to invest effort even when it feels unreciprocated. This kind of love is not always glamorous, but it is deeply rewarding. The beauty of love as a choice and commitment is that it creates stability. When two people choose to love each other intentionally, they create a safe space where vulnerability can thrive. In this space, they can express their fears, dreams, and struggles without fear of rejection. This level of trust does not happen overnight. It is built over time through consistent acts of love and reassurance. Choosing love also requires selflessness. Our natural inclination is often to focus on our own needs, desires, and perspectives. But love challenges us to put the needs of others before our own, not in a way that neglects our well-being, but in a way that fosters mutual growth and understanding. This selflessness can be seen in small, everyday actions, listening when we are tired, compromising when we feel strongly, or offering support when we have little to give. These moments may seem insignificant, but they are the building blocks of lasting relationships. However, choosing love does not mean enduring unhealthy or abusive situations. Commitment should never come at the expense of one's safety or dignity. Real love respects boundaries, honors individuality, and promotes growth. It is not controlling or possessive, but freeing and uplifting. Choosing love means being willing to work through challenges, but it also means recognizing when a relationship is harmful and having the courage to let go if necessary. One of the greatest challenges of choosing love is navigating conflict. Every relationship will encounter disagreements and misunderstandings, but how we handle these moments determines the strength of our love. When faced with conflict, love calls us to approach with humility rather than pride, seeking resolution rather than victory. It asks us to listen more than we speak and to understand before we demand to be understood. These actions require intentional effort, but they are essential for preserving the bond between two people. Another aspect of love as a choice is forgiveness. No one is perfect, and every relationship will involve mistakes and hurt. Forgiveness is not about condoning the wrong, but about releasing resentment so that healing can occur. It is one of the most powerful expressions of love because it says, our relationship matters more than my pride or pain. Forgiveness is not always easy and it may take time, but it is a necessary step in restoring trust and moving forward. Choosing love also means embracing growth. Both individuals in a relationship will evolve over time, and so will their connection. Love requires adaptability and a willingness to grow together rather than apart. This might mean learning new ways to communicate, exploring each other's changing interests, or supporting one another through personal challenges. Growth is not always comfortable, but it is essential for keeping love alive. Ultimately, love as a choice and commitment is the foundation of any meaningful relationship. It goes beyond fleeting emotions and momentary attractions, grounding itself in intentional action and steadfast dedication. It is a love that says, I see you, I value you, and I choose you, not just today, but every day. This kind of love is not just about romantic relationships. It applies to friendships, family bonds, and even the way we treat ourselves. When we understand love as a choice, we begin to approach all our relationships with greater purpose, patience, and compassion. It challenges us to rise above selfishness and to create connections that are built to last. True love is a concept that has fascinated humanity for centuries. It is written about in poems, sung about in songs, and portrayed in countless stories. But what is true love? Many believe it is an overwhelming emotion, a magical force that sweeps people off their feet and makes life feel like a dream. While love may begin with a rush of feelings, true love is far more profound and enduring. It is not simply about passion or attraction, but about depth, understanding, and connection on a level that transcends the superficial. True love does not shy away from reality. It sees the complexities of another person, their strengths and flaws, their joys and struggles, and embraces them fully. It is not about perfection or finding someone who fits an idealized image. Instead, it is about valuing the authenticity of another person and loving them as they are. True love recognizes that everyone carries baggage, insecurities, and imperfections, and it says, I accept all of you, not just the parts that are easy to love. This depth of love cannot be sustained by fleeting emotions alone. Feelings, by their nature, are temporary. They ebb and flow with circumstances and time. True love, however, is not dictated by mood or situation. It is a deliberate choice to remain steadfast, to honor the commitment made, and to invest in the relationship even when the initial euphoria fades. One of the defining aspects of true love is its selflessness. In a world that often prioritizes individual desires and personal gain, true love asks us to consider the needs and well-being of another. It does not demand reciprocation or keep score. It gives freely, not as an obligation, but as an expression of genuine care. This selflessness does not mean losing oneself or neglecting one's own needs. Instead, it involves creating a balance where both individuals feel valued and supported. True love is also characterized by patience. Relationships, even the strongest ones, are not without their challenges. There will be moments of frustration, miscommunication, and disagreement. True love does not walk away at the first sign of trouble. It takes a step back, seeks to understand, and works towards resolution. Patience is not just about enduring difficult times, but about recognizing that growth, both personal and relational, takes time. It allows space for mistakes and learning, fostering an environment where both people can flourish. Forgiveness is another cornerstone of true love. No one is perfect, and no relationship is immune to hurt or disappointment. True love does not hold on to grudges or keep a record of wrongs. It acknowledges the pain, but chooses to let go of resentment for the sake of healing and moving forward. Forgiveness does not mean ignoring harmful behavior or allowing oneself to be mistreated. Rather, it is about finding the strength to release anger and bitterness, not only for the other person's sake, but for one's own peace of mind. One of the most profound aspects of true love is its ability to foster growth. Love is not static. It evolves as people change and circumstances shift. True love encourages both individuals to become the best versions of themselves. It provides support during times of struggle, celebrates achievements, and challenges each person to rise above their limitations. This kind of love does not seek to control or limit, but to empower and inspire. True love is also marked by trust. Without trust, even the strongest feelings can crumble under the weight of doubt and insecurity. Trust is built through consistency, honesty, and vulnerability. It requires open communication and a willingness to be transparent, even when it feels uncomfortable. Trust allows both people to feel safe and secure, knowing that their partner has their best interests at heart. Another aspect of true love is its ability to withstand the test of time. While infatuation may fade and physical attraction may diminish, true love deepens. It is rooted in mutual respect, shared values, and a connection that goes beyond the surface. This kind of love does not depend on external factors. It is sustained by the bond that has been nurtured and strengthened over time. True love also understands the importance of individuality within a relationship. It recognizes that two people are not meant to merge into one indistinguishable entity, but to complement and support one another as unique individuals. It respects differences and embraces diversity in thoughts, dreams, and perspectives. This respect creates a foundation where both people can thrive, not by losing themselves, but by growing together. Ultimately, true love is about giving and receiving in a way that uplifts both individuals. It is not about perfection or fairy tale endings, but about the willingness to show up day after day with an open heart and a genuine desire to build something meaningful. It is about choosing love not just when it feels easy or exciting, but when it feels challenging and requires effort. True love is not something that just happens. It is something that is cultivated. It grows through shared experiences, mutual respect, and unwavering commitment. It is a journey, not a destination, a journey that asks us to dig deep, to confront our fears, and to embrace vulnerability. In the end, true love is not just about finding someone to complete us, but about discovering a connection that brings out the best in both people. It is about building a partnership that endures, not because it is without challenges, but because it is built on a foundation of understanding, trust, and unwavering commitment. True love is rare, but it is worth every effort, for it is one of the greatest gifts we can experience in this life. Misunderstandings are an inevitable part of human relationships. They stem from our differences in perspective, communication styles, and life experiences. While they may seem minor at first glance, misunderstandings have the potential to create significant barriers between people, turning even the most loving and harmonious relationships into sources of frustration and disconnection. To understand their impact and address them effectively, we must first recognize how misunderstandings arise and why they often persist if left unchecked. At their core, misunderstandings occur because people interpret the world differently. Each person views life through their unique lens, shaped by their upbringing, culture, beliefs, and past experiences. When two people interact, their interpretations of words, actions, or situations may not align. What one person intends to communicate may be entirely different from how the other person perceives it. These gaps in understanding are where misunderstandings are born. For example, consider a situation where one person gives constructive feedback, intending to help, but the other person perceives it as criticism or rejection. Neither party is inherently wrong. Their perspectives are simply different. However, without clarity, this simple exchange can spiral into hurt feelings, resentment, or even conflict. Misunderstandings like this can fester when assumptions replace communication, leading each person to create a narrative that may not reflect reality. One of the most significant ways misunderstandings create barriers is by fostering mistrust. When someone feels misunderstood, they may begin to question the other person's intentions or loyalty. This erosion of trust can lead to defensiveness, withdrawal, or a refusal to engage in meaningful conversations. Over time, these patterns can create emotional distance, making it harder for individuals to reconnect and rebuild their relationship. Another consequence of misunderstandings is the breakdown of effective communication. Instead of seeking clarity, people often react emotionally, speaking from a place of hurt or frustration. This reactive communication can escalate conflicts as each person becomes more focused on defending their perspective rather than understanding the others. Misunderstandings thrive in this environment, growing larger and more complex with every unspoken assumption or unresolved issue. The barriers created by misunderstandings are not limited to romantic relationships. They affect all forms of human connection. In friendships, misunderstandings can lead to feelings of betrayal or abandonment. In families, they can create rifts that last for years, with members estranged over incidents that could have been resolved through open dialogue. In workplaces, misunderstandings can undermine teamwork, reduce productivity, and damage morale. The key to overcoming misunderstandings lies in proactive and intentional communication. Too often, people assume that their thoughts and feelings are obvious or that others should naturally understand their perspective. This assumption is a trap. Effective communication requires more than speaking. It requires listening, clarifying, and confirming. It is about ensuring that both parties walk away with the same understanding of what has been expressed. Listening is perhaps the most powerful tool for dismantling misunderstandings. True listening is not merely waiting for your turn to speak. It is an active process of seeking to understand the other person's perspective. It involves paying attention not just to their words, but also to their tone, body language, and emotions. When people feel heard and validated, they are more likely to open up and engage in meaningful dialogue. Another essential aspect of resolving misunderstandings is the willingness to clarify. It is natural to make assumptions, but those assumptions must be challenged if they are causing confusion or conflict. Asking open-ended questions such as, "What did you mean by that?" or "Can you help me understand your perspective?" can illuminate the root of the misunderstanding and pave the way for resolution. Equally important is the need for patience and humility. Misunderstandings are rarely resolved instantly, and they often require both parties to acknowledge their role in the situation. This means being willing to admit when you have misunderstood or miscommunicated and being open to seeing things from the other person's point of view. Humility allows for the kind of vulnerability that strengthens relationships even in the face of conflict. It is also crucial to address misunderstandings as soon as they arise. The longer they linger, the more likely they are to grow into larger issues. Unresolved misunderstandings can lead to resentment as individuals replay the perceived slight or hurt in their minds. By addressing the issue promptly and respectfully, both parties can prevent small misunderstandings from becoming significant obstacles. Empathy plays a significant role in overcoming misunderstandings as well. When we approach situations with empathy, we move beyond our immediate emotions and focus on the other person's feelings and intentions. Empathy helps bridge the gap between differing perspectives, creating a space where mutual understanding can flourish. It allows us to see misunderstandings not as personal attacks, but as opportunities to learn more about one another. Ultimately, misunderstandings do not have to be permanent barriers. While they can create distance and conflict, they also present an opportunity for growth and deeper connection. By addressing misunderstandings with curiosity, compassion, and commitment, we can turn them into moments of clarity and understanding. Relationships are not defined by the absence of misunderstandings, but by how we handle them when they occur. The power to overcome misunderstandings lies within our ability to communicate openly, listen actively, and approach each other with a spirit of humility and patience. When we do this, the barriers created by misunderstandings begin to dissolve, replaced by a stronger and more resilient connection. In the end, it is not the misunderstandings themselves that define our relationships, but how we respond to them. Communication is the cornerstone of every successful relationship, serving as the bridge that connects thoughts, emotions, and intentions between individuals. When misunderstandings arise, as they inevitably do, it is communication that holds the power to dissolve confusion, rebuild trust, and restore harmony. While love may provide the foundation for a relationship, communication is the tool that sustains it. Without clear, honest, and intentional dialogue, even the strongest bonds can falter under the weight of misinterpretation and unspoken assumptions. At its essence, communication is more than the exchange of words. It encompasses tone, body language, timing, and even silence. Effective communication seeks not just to express, but to connect. It is the act of listening with the intent to understand rather than to respond, of speaking not to defend but to clarify, and of engaging with openness and empathy. These elements are what transform communication from a mechanical act into a relational skill that nurtures trust and intimacy. When misunderstandings occur, they often take root in the absence of clear communication. A word spoken without thought, a gesture misinterpreted, or a moment of silence taken the wrong way can quickly spiral into hurt feelings and assumptions. Left. One of the first steps in using communication as a solution is active listening. Many people listen to respond rather than to understand, formulating their next argument or defense while the other person is still speaking. This approach often fuels conflict rather than resolving it. Active listening, on the other hand, involves giving undivided attention, focusing on the speaker's words, and seeking to understand their perspective. It requires setting aside personal biases and truly hearing what the other person is expressing both verbally and emotionally. Active listening also involves validation. This does not mean agreeing with everything the other person says, but acknowledging their feelings and perspective as valid and worthy of consideration. Phrases like, "I can see why you feel that way," or "that must have been difficult for you," can go a long way in creating a sense of mutual respect and understanding. When people feel heard and validated, they are more likely to engage in productive dialogue and less likely to become defensive. Clarity is another crucial aspect of communication that prevents misunderstandings. Miscommunication often arises from vague language, assumptions, or a lack of context. To avoid this, it is important to be intentional and precise in expressing thoughts and feelings. For example, instead of saying, "You never listen to me," a more constructive approach would be, "I feel unheard when I try to share my thoughts. It is important to me that we work on this together." This shift in language focuses on feelings and solutions rather than blame, fostering a more collaborative environment. Timing also plays a significant role in effective communication. Addressing sensitive topics in the heat of the moment or during a stressful time can escalate tensions rather than resolve them. Choosing a calm, neutral time to discuss issues allows both parties to approach the conversation with a clearer mindset and a willingness to listen. Patience in choosing the right moment demonstrates respect for the other person's emotional state and creates a more conducive atmosphere for resolution. Nonverbal communication is equally important. Our tone of voice, facial expressions, and body language can sometimes convey more than our words. A gentle tone, open posture, and attentive eye contact signal a willingness to engage and understand. Conversely, crossed arms, a raised voice, or an impatient sigh can unintentionally communicate hostility or indifference, even if the words themselves are neutral. Being mindful of these nonverbal cues ensures that our messages are consistent and aligned with our intentions. Empathy is perhaps the most transformative aspect of communication. When we approach conversations with empathy, we seek to put ourselves in the other person's shoes, understanding their feelings and perspective without judgment. Empathy creates a safe space where both individuals can express themselves honestly, knowing they will not be dismissed or criticized. It fosters a sense of connection and reduces the emotional distance that misunderstandings often create. Another powerful tool in communication is asking open-ended questions. Questions like, can you tell me more about how you're feeling, or what can I do to help improve this situation, invite dialogue and demonstrate a genuine interest in resolving the issue. Open-ended questions shift the focus from defending one's own position to exploring solutions together, creating a collaborative dynamic. Finally, communication requires consistency. One honest conversation is not enough to sustain a relationship. Regular open dialogue builds trust over time and prevents misunderstandings from accumulating. It ensures that both individuals feel valued and understood, reinforcing the foundation of the relationship. In the absence of communication, relationships can become stagnant, with unresolved issues piling up until they become insurmountable. But when communication is prioritized and practiced with care, it has the power to transform even the most challenging situations. It turns misunderstandings into opportunities for growth, strengthens emotional bonds, and lays the groundwork for lasting connection. Ultimately, communication is not just a tool for resolving conflicts. It is an ongoing practice that enriches every aspect of a relationship. It invites clarity where there is confusion, connection where there is distance, and understanding where there is division. In the hands of those who wield it with intention and empathy, communication becomes not just an antidote to misunderstandings, but a means of creating deeper and more meaningful relationships. Relationships are among the most rewarding yet challenging aspects of life. They bring joy, comfort, and a sense of belonging, but they also require effort, patience, and resilience. Every relationship, be it romantic, familial, or platonic, comes with its own set of challenges, from communication breakdowns to conflicts of interest. Balancing these challenges is not about avoiding them altogether, but about navigating them in a way that strengthens the connection rather than eroding it. This balance requires intention, adaptability, and an unwavering commitment to growth. Challenges in relationships often arise from differences. No two people are exactly alike, and those differences, while enriching, can also lead to misunderstandings or disagreements. People have unique ways of communicating, coping with stress, and expressing love, which can sometimes clash. For instance, one person may prefer to confront issues head-on, while another may need time to process before discussing a conflict. Without understanding these differences, what begins as a minor disagreement can escalate into a larger issue. Balancing these differences involves recognizing and respecting each other's perspectives and finding common ground. One of the most significant challenges in relationships is managing expectations. Everyone enters a relationship with a set of assumptions about how things should be. These expectations are often shaped by personal experiences, cultural norms, and societal influences. When reality does not align with these expectations, disappointment and frustration can follow. For example, one partner might expect frequent displays of affection, while the other may express love in more subtle ways. The key to balancing these expectations is open communication. Instead of assuming individuals must articulate their needs and listen to their partner's perspective. This mutual understanding can help bridge the gap between differing expectations and foster a stronger connection. Another common challenge in relationships is maintaining individuality while building a shared life. It is natural for two people in a close relationship to influence each other, but it is equally important to retain a sense of self. Losing one's individuality can lead to feelings of resentment or a loss of identity, which can strain the relationship. Balancing this dynamic requires both people to support each other's personal growth and independence while nurturing their shared bond. It means celebrating each other's achievements, encouraging personal interests, and allowing space for self-reflection and growth. Conflict is another inevitable aspect of relationships. Disagreements are not inherently bad. In fact, they can be opportunities for growth if handled constructively. The challenge lies in managing conflict in a way that strengthens the relationship rather than weakening it. Balancing conflict involves approaching disagreements with empathy and a problem-solving mindset. Instead of focusing on winning an argument, the goal should be to understand each other and find a solution that works for both parties. This requires active listening, patience, and a willingness to compromise. Balancing the emotional needs of both individuals is another critical aspect of managing relationship challenges. Each person brings their own set of emotional experiences, insecurities, and coping mechanisms to a relationship. At times, one person's needs may feel more urgent or overwhelming, leaving the other feeling neglected or unsupported. Striking a balance involves practicing empathy and ensuring that both individuals feel valued and heard. It requires checking in regularly, offering reassurance, and being attuned to each other's emotional states. External pressures can also pose challenges in relationships. Financial stress, work obligations, health issues, or family dynamics can all take a toll on even the strongest bonds. These pressures can amplify existing tensions or create new ones, testing the resilience of the relationship. Balancing external challenges involves facing them as a team rather than as individuals. It means fostering a sense of partnership, where both people work together to navigate obstacles. By sharing the burden and offering mutual support, couples can turn external challenges into opportunities to strengthen their connection. Time management is another aspect of balancing relationships. In today's fast-paced world, it can be difficult to find quality time to nurture a relationship amidst competing demands. This lack of time can lead to feelings of neglect or disconnection. Balancing time involves prioritizing the relationship without compromising other responsibilities. It means carving out moments to connect even amidst busy schedules and being fully present during those moments. These efforts, though small, can have a profound impact on the health of a relationship. Perhaps the most significant challenge in relationships is navigating change. People grow and evolve over time, and so do their needs, priorities, and circumstances. A relationship that thrives in one stage of life may struggle in another. Balancing change involves adaptability and a willingness to grow together rather than apart. It means embracing the journey of evolution as individuals and as a couple, constantly rediscovering each other and finding new ways to connect. Ultimately, balancing challenges in relationships is not about achieving perfection or eliminating difficulties. It is about developing the skills and mindset to navigate those challenges with grace and resilience. This balance is not a destination but an ongoing process requiring continuous effort and intention. It involves cultivating trust, empathy, and communication while remaining committed to the relationship's growth. When approached with patience and dedication, the challenges in relationships can become opportunities for deeper connection and understanding. They teach us about ourselves and each other, revealing strengths we may not have known we possessed. Balancing these challenges allows relationships to flourish, turning obstacles into stepping stones toward a more meaningful and enduring bond. It is this balance that transforms relationships from mere connections into profound partnerships that stand the test of time. In every relationship, whether romantic, familial, or professional, conflict is an unavoidable reality. Differences in opinions, values, and priorities will inevitably arise, testing the strength of the bond between individuals. However, the key to maintaining a healthy and lasting connection lies not in the avoidance of conflict, but in prioritizing connection over conflict. It is a conscious choice to foster understanding, empathy, and cooperation in the midst of disagreements, ensuring that the relationship remains intact even when challenges surface. When conflict arises, it can often be tempting to focus solely on the issue at hand, fixating on who is right or wrong or how the problem can be solved quickly. However, this approach can inadvertently undermine the deeper connection between individuals. In the heat of the moment, emotions can run high and reactions can become defensive or accusatory. Instead of addressing the core issue, the conflict can evolve into a series of power struggles where the goal becomes winning the argument rather than resolving it in a way that benefits both parties. Prioritizing connection over conflict means shifting the focus from winning to understanding, from proving a point to preserving the relationship. The first step in prioritizing connection over conflict is to recognize that the relationship itself is more important than the disagreement. When both individuals approach the situation with the mindset that their connection is worth preserving, they are more likely to engage in open and constructive communication. It means approaching the disagreement with a sense of curiosity rather than judgment, seeking to understand the other person's perspective rather than immediately defending one's own. Active listening is one of the most powerful tools for fostering connection during conflict. Often during a disagreement, people listen only enough to form their response rather than truly hearing what the other person is saying. This reactive form of listening can escalate tensions and perpetuate misunderstandings. Active listening, on the other hand, requires individuals to fully engage with the speaker, to listen not just to their words, but also to the underlying emotions and intentions. It involves giving the other person space to express themselves without interruption, acknowledging their feelings, and validating their perspective. By listening attentively, individuals can gain insight into the other person's point of view and demonstrate empathy, which is a crucial element of maintaining a connection. Even if the two parties still disagree on the issue, the act of being heard and understood can create a sense of validation and respect. This, in turn, makes it easier to approach the conflict with a cooperative mindset, where the goal is not to defeat the other person, but to find common ground. Another important aspect of prioritizing connection over conflict is taking responsibility for one's own role in the disagreement. It is natural to want to blame the other person when conflict arises, but this tendency can further strain the relationship. Acknowledging one's own contributions to the conflict can diffuse defensiveness and encourage mutual accountability. It might involve saying, "I could have communicated that better," or "I understand why you feel that way." Taking responsibility shows humility and openness, which invites the other person to do the same. This mutual vulnerability helps to create an environment where both individuals can work through the conflict together rather than against each other. It is also important to manage emotions during conflict in order to prioritize the relationship. When emotions run high, it can be easy to say things in the heat of the moment that we later regret. Words can be powerful and can either heal or wound. Learning to pause and take a step back before responding can prevent hurtful comments and allow for a more thoughtful, calm response. Practicing emotional regulation during conflict shows respect for the other person's feelings and helps maintain the focus on resolving the issue rather than escalating the argument. Another crucial aspect of prioritizing connection is avoiding the temptation to keep score or hold grudges. In many relationships, individuals may tally past mistakes, using them as ammunition during conflicts. This pattern of holding on to past hurts can poison the relationship, creating a cycle of blame and resentment. When both individuals prioritize connection, they must learn to forgive, to let go of past grievances, and to focus on the present issue at hand. Forgiveness is not about forgetting the hurt or excusing bad behavior, but about choosing to move forward with a focus on growth rather than staying stuck in the past. Compromise is another essential element of resolving conflicts in a way that prioritizes connection. In any relationship, it is unlikely that both parties will get everything they want. However, the willingness to meet in the middle and find solutions that respect both individuals' needs is critical. Compromise does not mean sacrificing one's values or desires for the sake of peace. Rather, it means finding creative ways to address both perspectives in a way that is mutually satisfying. This may involve negotiation, flexibility, and sometimes even patience, but it is through compromise that the relationship is strengthened, not weakened. In some cases, it may also be necessary to take a break from the conflict to regain composure and reflect on the situation. Sometimes continuing to argue when emotions are running high can cloud judgment and further damage the relationship. Taking a brief pause allows both parties to reflect on the situation, consider their feelings, and approach the conversation with a clearer mindset. This break should be communicated respectfully, with the understanding that it is not an avoidance tactic, but rather a strategy for ensuring the conversation remains productive.